All right, on this episode of the LPDS, it's Halloween. So we get into the reason for the season, talk about seasonal depression, we talk about current events. We got a pretty sweet Cage fact for you guys. So all that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. Hope everybody had a good week. And to all those who celebrate, happy Halloween. My favorite time of the year. Talk about that in the Junction. But it's been got to plug my computer in so it doesn't die on me here. Uneventful, but also strenuous week, I guess you could say. Not a lot went on outside the LPDS ranch, but there was a lot going on inside the LPDS universe. We got trips to prepare for, holidays to prepare for, work to get done, business stuff to get done, LPDS stuff to get done. It was all happening this week. And it's just the way of the world. So I hope you guys had a decent enough week. Mine wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad week. It was just a lot going on, as usual. But I hope you guys had a productive week as well. And you guys were getting ready for Halloween and the weekends and all that, all the fun stuff we actually look forward to. So we'll get right into the current events, because there's a couple I want to talk about that I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to get to the bottom of some of this stuff without getting too judgmental, I guess you can say. But these are more so like questions for maybe you guys to ponder, pontificate, think about. And if you have opinions, please send them in. Hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of this stuff. First, we have, this is probably old news by the time you're listening to this, but while at the time of recording, this is current events. So that's that. This gal posted a TikTok video talking about this trend that I don't know if she's starting it or she is part of it now. Trend is I got to remain unbiased here. This, what she calls a trend of quote unquote silent walks. Now in the video, if I can find the clip on YouTube, I'll post a link up in the top right here. So you guys can watch the video. You can hear what she's saying and you can hear the language that she uses. And I'm going to try to paraphrase and remember some of the quotes she uses as best I can. But she's on a walk. She's filming herself on a walk, and she's talking about how her boyfriend suggested that she considers trying silent walks. And she's like, well, what's that? I don't know what a silent walk is. And he said, a walk with no music, no podcast, no distractions, just you and your thoughts, just walking, and see how that works. And then she goes on to say how she doesn't think her anxiety can handle all that chaos. And then she tried to do it in the first 2 minutes. It was chaos in her brain. And then she said that her mind got into this flow state and she was able to think clearly and she can actually hear herself. And it was a great thing there. And everyone should try this new thing called silent walking. And it'll clear your mind and it'll be good. You get in the flow state. Now, I'm trying to, let's do a little exercise here. We'll do an old school, high school debate club style exercise where we kind of bring up both sides of this argument. or this discussion point. Okay? Because on one hand, you have a gal who is talking about a new trend called walking outside. All right? She talks about it like nobody has ever tried this before, and no one's ever done this before. This is a new thing that people need to get on, and she's going to be the revolutionizer. I don't know what you want to call it. The discoverer of silent walking, where you're just walking without essentially using your cell phone or your Walkman or anything like that. Sounds ridiculous, right? Because since the beginning of humankind, we've been silent walking. In fact, if I had the editing skills or the time to do it, it would take me a lot of time to figure this out. But if I could, I would put a graphic across the screen right now with a timeline of the beginning of humankind over here, if you're looking in YouTube land, and the current state of humankind now. And we spread it out for the thousands and thousands of years that human beings have been around. And then I'll break it off into percentages of the amount of time, the percentage of time humans have been walking without the distractions this lady's talking about, and then the percentage of time that we've been walking with these available to us. Walkmans, CD players, iPods, phones, whatever, right here. And it's probably less than 1% of the time of humankind. So since our existence, silent walking has been the thing. If we're talking statistically speaking, how you doing? We know about silent walking, lady. We have figured it out a long time ago. Okay? Now, there is a whole lot of other stuff in this video that you can argue was ridiculous, menacing, questionable. Flow state. I don't understand. I know it's a buzz phrase, and she's trying to get views and likes on TikTok. So you have to use these buzzwords like flow state. A lot of these online coaches do that, the snake oil salesmen, or the beginners like myself. We'll look at successful people online and we'll try to mirror their language and how they're putting out content and things like that, thinking that'll get us, the popularity we're looking for. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But she's definitely using this buzz phrase flow state. But if you think about it, if you ask this gal, define to me flow state, your mind in a flow state, I imagine her answer would be filled with a lot of likes and ums and knows and not really actually answering the question. And that's okay, because I don't know what the hell flow state means either. But I'm also not going to use it as an authority figure speaking about the mind and thinking clearly and what a flow state is, because it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not going to use it thinking I know what I'm talking about, because I don't, and I don't think she does either. Also, valid argument to be made that she may or may not actually have a boyfriend. She just used that. I've done that in the past, not with girlfriends, but with stuff like, I was talking to a guy and this and that. And really the guy I was talking to was Randy over here behind the screen. So, on the other hand, though, trying to be, debate club, thorough debaters here. On the other hand, it's highly likely that this person was born after the invention and creation of not only Walkmans and CD players, but iPods and iPhones and Bluetooth headsets and the normalcy of constant content in your ear or in your eyeballs. Her entire existence is quite possibly only living in that world. So when she heard of the crazy idea of walking in silence, like the mall walkers, by the way, if we're going back to the original argument, the first side, Mall walkers. Have you ever seen them doing anything as far as listening to something, even talking to the person next to them? No, they're in the zone. If you want to define flow state, it's mall walkers. And if you're not familiar with the mall walkers, then A, I'm too old. That's fine. And B, you need to get yourself to a mall as soon as they open. I don't know what time they open these days, but back in the day, they used to open early because they were super popular. They're slightly less popular now. And you will see older people in tracksuits or aerobics type gear fast walking around the mall, hitting laps before the big crowds get there. And I don't know if they did it during the holiday season because things get a little crazier in the malls during the holidays. So I don't know if they avoided those or not. But flow state. They were in the zone. No earphones, no headsets, no Walkmans, no nothing. Just them and their thoughts, a race against the clock to hit their laps and achieve victory. If I was going to define or describe a flow state, I would just describe a mall walker, a veteran mall walker, and I think people would understand it. Now, back to the other side of the argument. So this gal likely has never been in an existence before all that stuff was around. In fact, she may very well have been born after the inception of the iPod or, the MP3 player, something to listen to music without using a CD or a cassette. She might be that young. She looked pretty young. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. She was probably that. The other thing you can consider and give the benefit of the doubt of is maybe she did have a boyfriend. Maybe that's it. But what I was really thinking of is just because she's never thought of this doesn't mean it's not new to her. And an example I heard, I'm trying to remember where, maybe it was a Barstool Sports podcast. Maybe it was KFC Radio. Shout out KFC Radio if you're listening. Probably not. But I think they were comparing it to Columbus, who we've talked about in a previous episode with Columbus Day, discovering America, which I know there's going to be the, social justice warriors getting on my ass about saying that Columbus didn't discover America. He was, colonizer, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not talking about that. But just the idea that he discovered America. The country already existed. The land was already there. There was people already inhabiting the lands that he fell upon. But because it was new to him, he was discovering it. So this gal, again, you can argue, is not claiming she's inventing silent walking. She's just discovering it for herself for the first time. And because it had such a positive impact on her and her mental and emotional state and health and well-being, she's deciding to bring it to the masses. And that's all she was doing. She's not trying to say, hey, I invented this thing. You should try it out. It's brand new. It's new to her. She's discovering something that has already existed, obviously, since the beginning of time. And because it's such a positive thing for her, she wants to bring light to it. And let me tell you something. She brought light to it. The thing went viral. So all this to say, try walking without distractions. I do it all the time. I know the creature gets his steps in all the time to clear his head and to get moving and shaking and to follow the big three. I know you guys are doing it, you return ride or die listeners, Junction members. You know what we're talking about here. It is very therapeutic and also good for your health and wellness. I did it yesterday with Randy. We went out for a nice walk. It was nice. It was relaxing. We got to see some of the Halloween decorations out there. There was a small window where it wasn't relaxing, where he dropped a bomb of a dumpy that we had to take care of. Otherwise, it was nice. And if you can find ways to do that in your life, put the phone down, close your laptop, turn the TV off, and just get outside and be with yourself. Listen to your thoughts. What are you thinking about? Get some positive self-talk going on inside your noggin. It's absolutely helpful and positive. And I'm glad this gal found it. And I'm glad she has a boyfriend. And I'm glad she was spreading the good word. She got dragged, though. Okay? I can't deny that she absolutely got dragged, because the words she said and the way she talked about it absolutely did come off as a fake expert with the flow state mumbo jumbo, and B, the tone made it sound like she invented this and that we need to try it. And that's just not the case. So she absolutely got dragged. I hope she understands that most of the people out there dragging and trolling her are just that, trolls, and it means nothing. But I hope she went on, I'll say this, I hope she went on a silent walk after this video went viral and she was getting a whole lot of hate. I hope she was able to clear her mind, get into whatever she thinks a flow state is, and actually hear herself, which are just her thoughts. Another thing she got dragged for. And she was able to push all the negativity to the side, and just be in the moment of the fact that she's not only popular, but she discovered something in existence that could be beneficial to her and others. So I hope that was the case for her. Anyway, moving on. If we're talking news and current events, not much positive has been going on, as you can tell. I don't want to discuss this too much because there's not even any good jokes to kind of think about or bring up with any of this stuff. So I'm going to refrain from any sort of soapbox or anything like that. But this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to halfway put the tinfoil hat on, just a little bit on the side here. Okay? And if we're doing just a very general list of things going on right now within just about a year of our United States presidential election, we have a gun control situation that has recently arose. We have the border crisis that is ramping up in popularity and discussion points on the media. We're supposedly, according to the media, on the brink of a war. Not just the proxy wars, but World War III with us heavily involved. And we got a year before the election. The final piece of the tinfoil hat election cycle puzzle is some sort of race-related incident or situation. That's the four. The big four, whatever you want to call it, that happens, that we talk about on this show regularly to be aware of, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. I don't want to sound tinfoil hatty. I don't want to sound kooky, crazy, but it happens every time. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is not a coincidence that this stuff happens. It's almost laughable that you can set your alarm clocks to it. Crazy. Go back and think about it. We did a small sort of look back. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, or maybe more recent than that, of when these big events happened, these memorable negative events that occurred. And it's the same four general sort of subjects: gun control, race stuff, border crisis, an issue with a foreign nation, some sort of adversary issue. And it's every election cycle. They all happen every election cycle. It's slightly less every 2 years when they have the senatorial, congressional elections on those years, but every presidential election, that's when it super ramps up. That's not a coincidence. That is not tinfoil hat. It's history. Go look back at it. And I'm not saying these are all staged and fake, but I'm saying it happens. And we only hear about it in this magnitude during election season. Tinfoil hats off. We're not talking about that crap anymore. Moving on. I had a wild incident occur earlier in the week. You could call it wild. It was wild to me because I didn't expect this to happen. But I'll let you guys be the judge on the wildness or the weirdness of this. I'm sitting at my house at the LPDS ranch, the compound here, watching a program or reading or whatever. It's 8:45 at night, Central Standard Time, 9:45 Eastern. And I get a knock on the door. Not a ring of the bell, a knock on the door. I put Randy in his crate to protect the innocent from his annoyances. I don't want him sniffing some stranger's crotch in the middle of the night. And I open the door, and it's the cleaning lady I hired maybe 2 months ago, August. I hired her in August to help clean the house when my parents were coming to town. 8:45 at night. I got a light bulb out, so only one of my lights outside works right now. So it's sort of dark. And she shows up, broken English. She's got very poor English. And she just says, "You remember me?" I'm not gonna do the accent. I'll talk about why in a second here. And we talked back and forth. I was like, "Yeah, I remember you. You're the lady you clean my kitchen and bathrooms for me, and I paid you. It was a business transaction." And she goes, "Why call me again?" And we had a back and forth of why I didn't need her services just yet. I'm going to be calling her again very soon because I will need her. But most of the time I do the cleaning myself. I didn't necessarily need it all the time. Her dedication to the cause was astounding. Quite impressive. The fact that she thought it was okay to just knock on somebody's door at virtually 9 p.m. at night, pitch blackout, is wild to me, especially since she's on the smaller side woman and she's knocking on the doors of strangers. Look, when I got the door knock, I grabbed my bat. I got a 34-31 Easton composite bat right there by the door. Donation from the Embry-Riddle baseball team. Shout out to Skip and Chi and Thurno. And actually the Wet Cat, too, because he's the one who acquired the item. And I had it in my hand. Because nothing good happens with late time knocks on the door. So the fact that she was courageous or ignorant enough to do that, I don't know what term you want to use, was wild to me. That she was knocking on doors at night to confront people who weren't calling her for business. It worked, though, because I'm going to call her again because I'm afraid of her. Now, where the hell am I going with this? She had a thick accent. She was speaking broken English, but she had a thick accent, and that's okay because I could still understand her. And what she wasn't trying to do was speak with an English American accent of any sort. She was using her native accent, Hispanic, speaking English words. And it brought up several times where I had to speak a different language, some words. I said, gracias to her and si and bueno to her to kind of, bridge the communications gap a little bit. As a leadership tip for you. But I was using an American accent. And when I've done this in the past, I've caught hell from my American friends or family. And it just kind of brings up the question, and it's sort of like a grinds my gears question kind of thing, because everybody who comes to America who was born in a different country and speaks a native different language than English, American English, they have an accent from that country. German, Italian, Spanish, Mexican, Netherlands, whatever. Sweden. They all come with their own accent. Okay? Even people within this own country have their own accents that they don't try to change or adopt when they go to a different state or a different part of the country. I am not switching to a Southern accent living down here in Texas. I got what I got. I got broken Jersey accent. And I don't expect Texas Cowboys to have a Boston accent when they go up to Boston. But for some reason, there is a group of people in this country, and you can kind of lump them in together. You can kind of generalize. You can kind of figure out who they are. It's these people who think they're more cultured and better than us because they try to use the accents of the countries that they're visiting or the language they're speaking. And they just kind of stick their nose up at us and talk down to us and make fun of us for using American accents when speaking a different language. I talked about this in the past with Styx doing it, where when he says Spanish words or Italian words, he goes 100% to try to match that native accent and tongue and whatever you want to call it, tonality, everything. And it's blatantly obvious and it's super annoying. But when I do American accent, when I say pasticceria or pasticceria, when I'm talking about an Italian pastry shop and not pasticceria, I get dragged for it. And people get dragged for doing that. What I don't understand, though, is why. Why do Americans think that we need to match the accent of the language we're speaking overseas? Otherwise, we're scoundrels. And we should be looked down upon. Imagine an Italian-born person coming over to America and trying to speak English in what they're perceiving to be an American accent. Some people might see that as disrespectful, like they're making fun of Americans. And, they should make fun of us for some things. But just imagine, or a Spanish-speaking person, a Hispanic person, trying to speak broken English, but also in a broken American accent. That would be hilarious to us. And we would probably find a way to make fun of that, too. So why does it seem mandatory for some of these people to use a native accent when speaking that language? I don't understand it. The people in that country are fully aware we're not from there and that we're trying just by speaking the language. And I'm sure they understand us. And I bet they'd probably respect us more by just using our own accents when speaking the language. And they could just say, oh, yeah, this person's, they got an American accent speaking Italian. They speak fluent Italian, but it's American accent. Just like people around here in Texas, most of them who speak other languages have native Hispanic accents, but they speak fluent English. And that's fine. Because if we make fun of them for doing that and say, why don't you use an American accent, we'll get crucified by the social justice warriors. Crucified for it. But we get crucified if we don't culturally appropriate their accents. It's a wild, ridiculous concept to me. I don't understand. I don't have an answer. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe there is a reason that I'm missing and I'm just too ignorant to it. I don't know. But if somebody has any idea or they have a thought, a valid opinion on the subject, or maybe can justify why it's actually more respectful to try to match the accents as opposed to not, I don't know. Please tell me. 202-670-1114 on the hotline, or hit me in the comments or whatever on the YouTube or on the Instagram post when the episode drops. Something. I just want to know why we don't call out foreign people for speaking in their accents, but we get dragged for it if we try to even match up with their acts, or if we don't match up with their acts. I don't understand it. It's annoying to me. I am not going to, it's bad enough I'm speaking broken Italian to people, and I barely can come up with an intelligible thought and sentence to them. Now I'm going to try to butcher their accent too, to try to sound authentic. Give me a break with that. Anyway, moving on. Last current event I'll talk about, the World Series. Texas Rangers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. It is predicted to be one of, if not the least watched World Series in baseball history, MLB history, because no one seems to care about these teams except for the fans of those teams, Arizona fans and the Dallas Arlington community in Texas, because Texas has two teams. And most people like the Astros right now because the Astros are perennially the better team. So the bandwagoners are on the Astros side. I'm a baseball fan. I know a lot of people aren't going to watch it that I've played baseball with, but I like watching baseball, and more times than not, even though baseball has gone downhill lately as far as the caliber of play, because of what Rob Manfred and what the geek analytics experts are trying to push for the sport. The World Series and playoff time, more times than not, they go back to the basics to try to win games. They're playing small ball. They're stealing bases. They're playing chess, as opposed to just expecting the long ball and looking for exit velo on hits. So I still watch it. I'm still a fan. And the game was good. For the first game, there's going to be a second game and a third, fourth, maybe by the time this comes out. But the first game was pretty exciting. It went to 11 innings or 12 innings, and there was a walk-off win by the Rangers. So it was fun to watch. I'm curious about your thoughts on that. I know a lot of people who are not, baseball players back in their day, or even any sport. If you didn't play the sport, even as a youth, you root for your team, and then if your team's not playing, you don't care about it. I'm mostly like that. I mostly just watch Yankee games and sometimes Met games because my grandfather was a Mets fan during the regular season. But playoff time, I'm kind of watching. I have all the games on as much as I can, at least in the background. If I'm gonna do stuff in my life, the white noise I want in the background is baseball. I can't help it. I still like it, and it was a good game. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And you can hit the hotline 202-670-1114 or hit the comments or whatever and share your thoughts on it. Baseball, ex-baseball players or non-players who are just fans, let me know your thoughts on it because it is different for baseball, excuse me, and even other sports compared to, say, football. Because I know a ton more people, percentage-wise, in my life, in my social circles, watch the Super Bowl regardless of who's playing than they would for any other sports championship series or game. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, if you would watch it, or if you are watching the World Series, whether your team's in it or not, or what the deal is. These teams are not that popular. They were not that good over the past couple of years, and they made strong pushes this year with new players and new coaches, and they're both in it. And it's still good baseball to me. It might not have been it might have been better if, say, the Atlanta Braves were in it and the Baltimore Orioles, who were the two best teams basically in the American and National Leagues all year for the most part. I don't know. Playoff baseball is playoff baseball to me. I'm still watching it. It was still good game one. So whatever. Let me know your thoughts. With that, get into the good stuff. Step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Carl's Big and Tall Costume Shop. With Halloween right around the corner, it's time to think about what costume you're going to wear. But we know some of you bigger fellas have a hard time picking out a costume that fits your obese personalities. Well, Carl's Costumes got you covered. See, Carl understands that though you may be a walking meatball sub, you still want to look cool in a costume without having to dress like Santa Claus or Tony Soprano only every single year. With that, Carl offers many popular and suave options, like Fat Thor, or Fat White Goodman from Dodgeball, or retired baseball great Pudgy Rodriguez, or pre-Subway pedophile Jared, or this year's most popular costume, recently dumped and depressed Ken doll. So roll on over into Carl's today, right across the street from your CC's Pizza, for your head-scratching costume. And if you use the promo code Chris Christie, you'll get 29 pounds, 29% off your costume. Halloween's here, folks. By the time some of you are tuning into this, Halloween is already done. So I hope you got your costume, and I hope you went to Carl's because you're going to find a good costume, and you're going to get a good rate. Anyway, the Cage fact. This is more of a call-out of a non-Cage movie trying to be a Cage movie. Recently, a movie came out called Five Nights at Freddy's. And if you look at the trailer and the premise, it's about some guy who gets hired to work at some like Chuck E. Cheese style amusement park thingy, indoor adventure center or whatever, called Freddy's something. And in the movie, I don't know what his job is or what is supposed to do, but in the movie, the animatronic animals and mascots from Freddy's come to life to try to kill people. And he's got to navigate the world through that and survive. That just came out this year, 2023. 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Nic Cage came out with a movie called Willy's Wonderland. It was a movie where his character was hired to work at a Chuck E. Cheese style indoor amusement adventure. How you doing? And the animatronic characters inside the place came to life and murdered people. And he had to navigate his way through that. Now, some of you may be thinking, I accidentally gave you the summary for Five Nights at Freddy's just now twice. And you'd be wrong. You'd be right, but you'd be wrong. Because Freddy's is an exact copycat of Willy's Wonderland. And I'm calling it out because how dare you? How dare you try to make a movie pretending it's a completely new concept right around Halloween as a money grab, hoping people don't realize you're ripping off a movie by the great one or with the great one in it and thinking it's going to be more successful. That's preposterous to me. And really, the Cage fact is a Cage call out of the people who wrote and produced Five Nights at Freddy's for having the gall to even think that they can do that. Luckily, the fans have spoken because while Willy's Wonderland was not that popular, especially in the box office, it did not make a lot of money at all. I thought the movie was decent. Nic Cage was great. The movie was okay. The storyline at the end was a little ridiculous and stupid, but Nic Cage played a good part, as usual. It didn't make much money, though, but the fans spoke as far as its rating, and Five Nights at Freddy's has like a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. To Nic Cage's Willy's Wonderland got over 60, like 61 to 66% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is a call out, but also like a thank you to the fans, especially those of you here in the Junction, the LPDS universe, who realized what they were trying to do, trying to pull the wool over our eyes and make a copycat without the great one, thinking he was going to do better, trying to get more money out of it and more success out of it, and it backfired tremendously. So it just goes to show you that bad movies, the storyline, the script, whatever, people are not going to like it. But if you put Nic Cage in it, they're going to like it a little bit more. Think about all the bad movies we've watched in history, that you've watched. Now put Nic Cage in them. Tell me a movie that you did not like, and then sit there and tell me with an honest gumption about you, look me in the eye and tell me that the movie would not be even slightly better with Nic Cage in it. I would argue no one would actually be able to honestly say that. Nobody. So, shout out to the great one for proving that even if it's a bad movie, he's making it better 100% of the time. And thank you, really, thank you to the morons who put out Five Nights at Freddy's for proving that point. And probably not listening to the thousands of people in their ear telling them this is not a good idea. It's going to backfire. Nic Cage already did it. You're going down. And they did. So anyway, that's the Cage fact, Cage call out. We'll move on over into the Junction. Spin the logo up. It's Halloween. And with Halloween, we kick off the Holy Holiday Triumvirate, which, as you know, and as I've discussed recently, yet again, is my favorite time of year. Not because I like the winter or snow, but I like the holidays. Okay? And this is the official kickoff of it. Now, in the LPDS universe, in my world here, one can argue this could be a slightly less enjoyable Holy Holiday Triumvirate season for Libretti. I've already discussed previously, all the stuff I got going on in the next few months with more traveling and stuff I got to do at the house before I head up to the motherland in New Jersey for the holidays, where I'll be in the dungeon for a while, in the cold, dealing with the snow and the BS. A lot of stressful stuff going on. And I know there's that whole argument. Well, you work from home, dickbag. What do you have to do that's so stressful? You don't have to go anywhere. You could be at home. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. Just like other people who work at home, doesn't mean they're not doing anything. Just like the single parents out there, or even just the stay-at-home parents, I should say. Stay-at-home parents. Single parents are different. Stay-at-home parents. Correction. They still have to be parents. They have to, they got to take care of the kids, which is an impossible task. And they got to clean the house and do other stuff around the house while trying to harangue these little diaper-filling animals who have zero logic whatsoever inside of them at those, the young ages. They don't see the tough work that the parent has to do. They don't consider anything strategically. They have no concept of that, of how they're affecting other people's lives. They're just out there running ragged, which is fine. They're kids. That's what they're supposed to do. But anybody who says a stay-at-home parent should be getting more done at the house than they are, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. And that's what it's sort of like. And I'm not trying to compare myself and say, like, I'm a stay-at-home parent. That's preposterous. I don't have nearly the workload and the stress and anxiety that those people have. I commend them. But to suggest that the work-from-home people don't have to do anything and they can lounge around all day and they should have no excuse for being stressed and overworked and whatever, that's also a little silly too. Let's be honest. And that's kind of what I'm dealing with here in my first foray into the work from home thing. Plus my experiment with, traveling for the National Guard and then also juggling work trips for work on top of starting the business, on top of going to see family regularly, on top of the stuff I have to do around the house, on top of trying to have a social life. That experiment is failing miserably for me. And hand up, I put myself in that position to try it out. Scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you test out the hypothesis to see how it works. You go through the motions. And it's failing for me. I don't even enjoy the traveling as I thought I would. I love traveling, but not this type of traveling when it's stuff that I have to go do that I don't want to do, and I have to leave the dog and I have to figure out the logistics and all that stuff as a single guy. It is not something I enjoy. It's a failed experiment. The scientific method worked. It proved the theory to be wrong, that I would enjoy myself and be more fulfilled in that regard. So back to the drawing board in that regard. However, though, I'm not depressed. I'm not testing out the strength of my shoelaces by any means. So we're all good there, folks. I'm still very much happy. I have a really great life. And it is fulfilling in other aspects. But I am making moves. I'm absolutely making moves to create a much better situation for myself come next year to not only survive, but thrive through all the things I want to do. I'll still have to go on some work trips. I'll still be going and visit family and doing all that stuff. And I still have the business I'm working on. But I'm setting things up, without getting into any detail, to figure that out and be able to thrive in it so that I have more ability to go out and have a vacation or just enjoy a weekend without having to worry about all the stuff that has to get done. I have a list right now of stuff I have to do in like the next 3 weeks, or at least try to do, that is exhausting just to look at. And I constantly catch myself in that analysis paralysis state where it's like I have so much I want to get done and need to get done that I don't even start on any of it. So I had to list it out so I can start picking things apart one by one, as opposed to thinking of it all as this cluster of garbage to deal with. So we're figuring that out. Got to stress, a crazy triumvirate season coming up. I'll be in New Jersey for Thanksgiving in a few weeks, through Christmas and however else long I decide to stay up there, helping my parents out and being around the family. I don't have a costume yet this year. By the time some of you might tune into this, Halloween will be over. I couldn't tell you what I'm going to wear, if I'm going to go out and wear anything. I was invited to a buddy's house. They're just doing a little shindig. They're doing like a Barbie and Ken theme. That's not my gig. It's not my bag, baby. So I'll probably try to cook up a last-minute Nic Cage themed costume, but I don't know. My brain has been in a fog, thinking about other things and focusing on other stuff. So I haven't really thought about the Stoom ideas. No haunted forest this year. I talked about Markov's haunted forest and how excited I was for that. And then it downpoured the day we were supposed to go, and they closed the facility down. So we didn't get to do that. Now, all of this to say, this is not a woe is me thing by any means. This is not a, I'm not looking forward to this. Quite the contrary. This Halloween kickoff of the Holy Holiday Triumvirate is a welcomed escape from the our daily existence, if you will. And I'm looking forward to that. I love Halloween. I have all these plans and ideas that I'd like to get done. One of these Halloweens, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be able to manage my time appropriately. I'm going to be able to have the financial freedom to be able to do it. Maybe I'll have a partner in crime to help me out, make things a little bit easier, a little bit more fun. But I have all these plans to decorate the house and create a little like outdoor walk through, like haunted house style thing for the kids to enjoy when they're going trick-or-treating. I'm going to get it done one of these days. I have not been able to create that level of time management and freedom in my life just yet, as things continue to be in flux all the time. But I do love Halloween. I got to figure out what I'm going to give out for candy this year if I'm going to be home to do it. I also got to think about what sign I'm going to put up so that the kids know that there's candy here, but also don't keep ringing the bell because the dog's going to go nuts on everybody. No one will have a good time doing that. So I might do the rookie thing of putting out the bucket of candy and risking people just, stealing all the candy in one shot. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I am excited for Halloween. I love Halloween. I like scary movies. I'm watching some scary movies on the side when I have some time. I like the old school slasher gore, as you know. The Michael Myers, the Jasons, the Freddy Krueger daddies. Love all that stuff. What was the one that was it a Tarantino? Came out with a double feature. Death Ride. Damn it, I forgot the two movies that he did, the double feature that came out years ago. And one of them was like slasher murder thriller related. I love that. I love that stuff. Screams, Saws, all the Saw movies, even the ones that stunk, I still like them. I love all that stuff. So I do like the Halloween theme crap. And that's really what the message is here on this week's episode. The lesson here, if you will, is that we all have shit going on in our lives. Okay? Most people have more shit they got to deal with in their lives than I do in mine, for sure. But it's important that we take time to, what's the saying? Stop and smell the roses. And your roses could be anything. Mine is the Holy Holiday Triumvirate. It's Halloween. It's pretending to be somebody else. Nic Cage, usually for me. It's escaping from the daily malarkey we got to deal with. You can go be whatever you want. You can go be Fat Thor. I could be Barbie if I wanted to. I could be Justin Bieber. Castor Troy. I could be whoever I want to be for one day, and that's okay. And it's not just for kids either, Halloween. I used to be very bitter, old manish in my thought process with a lot of things, including Halloween, where it's like after a certain age, stop being kids. Ridiculous. It's a ridiculous line of thinking for me. For some people, this is our chance to have a good time and be silly or slutty or rugged and masculine or fat or feminine or whatever you want to be for one day. You could dress up and fantasize about whatever you want. And it's not only accepted, it's encouraged in society. Now, you could realistically do it every day if you want to dress up like a furry or a pixie or whatever. It's a little less accepted, to be honest, if you're doing it in, June or July, showing up to a bar or restaurant dressed like an elf. But look, have at it. I will say this, though. Your loophole to be a freak or a weirdo or an athlete or a gal or a guy, whatever you want, your loophole is Halloween. Kids, adults, old people, animals, whatever. This is your time. You could dress up as the most ridiculous, sinister, creepy, scary, freakish thing ever. And nobody's going to look at you and be like, hey, man, is everything all right? They're going to be like, sweet stoom, bro. Or sweet stoom, gal. Sis. So take advantage of it. Do it. That's what I love about it. And I wish I had an idea for a stoom already, but I'm going to find a way to make it happen and have a good time with it. And then it's going to lead into, I'm going to deal with all the bullshittery and the minutia of the day-to-day stuff in between now and Thanksgiving, or Halloween and Thanksgiving. And then I'm going to go home and enjoy the Thanksgiving feast that we create every year. And I'm excited to try to contribute. I don't know if I'm going to make a dessert or a side item. Usually I go with a dessert. So I got to talk to the powers that be to see what I can conjure up. Maybe I'll make a combination. I'll make a chocolate chip banana bread loaf, and then I'll make a pumpkin bread loaf. And anybody who knows, I make a pretty mean loaf. And this is not a brag. I don't sit here and toot my own horn or suck my own self. That's not the phrase. Suck myself off for no reason whatsoever. But ask anybody who has ever tried any of my loaves, and you will not hear a bad word about it. They may hate me. They may say, this guy's a big-nosed idiot. Maybe I broke their heart. Maybe I'm not their friend. Maybe I fired them from a job. Whatever it is. But they will never tell you objectively that I gave them a bad loaf. They'll say, this guy sucks. But man, does he make a mean chocolate chip banana bread. He's got it dialed in. So maybe I'll do that for Thanksgiving. I usually make the turkey. Back when I was doing Thanksgiving solo, I still may do that. I don't know yet. Actually, since I'm going to be home at the motherland, maybe there's not going to be enough room, stockpile space in the fridge and freezer to make my own turkey. But I usually like to make my own turkey, even though it's just for one, because then I'll make turkey soup and Thanksgiving sandwiches for months after, where I just put all the Thanksgiving holiday goodness into a sandwich, Italian bread, toast it. Man, is it good. Damn. Still may do it. And then Christmas is coming up. And you know how I feel about Christmas and the big man upstairs in red. And as soon as Halloween ends, I don't care what anybody says. I do wait until Halloween. I keep that threshold pretty black and white, that demarcation line. From September through Halloween, I'm pretty horror movie Halloween sort of stuff. But once Halloween's over, I don't care what anybody says. It's Hallmark Christmas movies. It's Christmas Story. It's Rudolph. It's Frosty. It's all of them. Jack Skellington, the Christmas part. I'm there for it all. Hallmark, Gaff, the movies, not Elf, all the other ones. And I'm in it to win it. Christmas time. And we'll go get a tree. We'll go pick out a tree after Thanksgiving. And then me and my father will argue about trying to cut down the tree after we've already argued with Crazy Carol about picking the perfect tree in a tree farm that is full of thousands and thousands of really good-looking trees. We will sit there and examine all 1,000 of them to pick the best one, and then we'll pick it and cut it down and get back to the house, and somebody doesn't like it, and we'll argue about that, and then we'll decorate it, and then the dogs will run around and knock things down and knock things over, and everyone will get angry, and it'll be awesome. We'll have a Christmas movie on in the background. My father will get mad because John Wayne's not in the movie, or Perry Mason's not on. We're watching Lacey Chabert. And I can't, there's nothing I look forward to more than this Holy Holiday Triumvirate season. There's nothing I look forward to more. So take the time to enjoy this stuff. Stop and smell the roses. We got the fall stuff is, you could go be the basic bitch you make fun of constantly. Okay? You got the haunted houses to go to still. You got the pumpkin patches are going to be open through Thanksgiving for sure. You got the corn mazes to go to. You got the hot apple ciders. You got the hot cocos. You got the apple cider donuts to dip in the cocoa, the hot chocolate. That's a fantastic combination, and I don't think enough people realize. Because usually people go with the hot cider and then the donut, but the hot cider and the cider, apple cider donuts and the hot chocolate is the way to go. And as most of you know, I'm a big dunker. I dunk. Most of the time in some sort of milk or even coffee. And I'll get into that. And I'll explain the etiquette of dunking, or what I consider to be the etiquette of dunking. But get yourself some good hot chocolate. Not the stuff with that water and the mixture. Nuh-uh. You want milk in there. And you want good chocolate syrup. And you want to get that nice and thick and shaken up and stirred and whatever. And then you want to get a nice hot, fresh apple cider donut. And you dip that in there and it sponges up all the hot chocolate goodness. And you can and you can feel the weight of that piece of donut. It swells. And you can feel it. And then you just attack it like you're trying to conquer Constantinople. And it is just delicious. And it warms you up physically, mentally, and emotionally. And you're sitting there with a smile on your face, and you got chocolate, hot chocolate, dripping down your stupid face, and you got donut frag going everywhere. And you got a big smile. And I'll tell you what you're not doing. You're not stewing in the negativity of your day-to-day lives. You're not thinking about all the bullshit you have to do or you want to do or you think you have to do that's holding you down. You're not thinking about the stress of work. You're not thinking about the chaos that the media is pushing out. You're not thinking about nothing bad. You're strolling through that corn maze like a happy idiot, knocking back a half a dozen apple cider donuts, loving life. And if you're Italian, come Christmas time, you're doing basically the same thing with the panettone. And if you don't know what panettone is, go look it up. I've talked about it in the past. You can toast that bitch up. You put a little Kerrygold butter on it, salted. Melt that shit right on there. And then you start piecing it apart and dunking it in your coffee. And that shit just melts in your mouth and you're back to your happy place. And all the other bullshit's gone again. And you can do it during Halloween too. You can be like Nikki Sticks and dress up like Yukon Cornelius this year. And you can go around to the parties and have a great time. And then you can come back and you can get yourself a Reese's peanut butter cup or a Snickers or even those this is a crazy one. There's those little Nutella biscuits that they have. You don't want to give those out as candy for people, but it's chocolate. It's Nutella. It's, not chocolate, but whatever it is. Hazelnut, I guess, spread. And they have them on little crackers or cookies or whatever. And you could take that candy. And if you're a psycho like me, you're going to dip that candy in some milk like a boss. Or you can just eat it straight. And you take a bite of that candy or whatever you got. Kit Kat, if you like Kit Kat, Three Musketeers, Milky Way. I used to love Milky Ways as a kid. Snickers is still great. I'm a big Reese's Cup guy, as you know. And guess what happens, folks? You're not Nikki Sticks anymore. You're fucking Yukon Cornelius. Sorry, Terrence Family Show. And you can disappear eating that candy, and all you see in front of you is mountains and mines to look for gold. Or maybe you're Fat Thor or regular Thor or Captain America. And you take a bite of that Reese's or Snickers, and you're not the washed up cubicle sitting, working for the man, shell of a human being anymore. You're Captain fucking America. And you eat that candy, and you can stand there like this with your stupid shield that hides your gut because you're not really Captain America, but you are Captain America. And all you see in front of you is the rest of the Avengers clapping for you, loving you. Fans everywhere trying to get your autograph and shake your hand. And you're not thinking about any of the negativity you might have going on in your lives. And it's great. And that's what we should be doing with these next 3 holidays coming up. And even if you don't celebrate Christmas, maybe you do Hanukkah, maybe you do Ramadan, whatever you follow, whatever your faith tells you to do, or whatever you choose to celebrate, do that too. Celebrate the shit out of them. And enjoy it. And that's what I'm going to do. My vacation and my de-stressors this year, as much as I want it to be an actual vacation from it all, it's going to be those holidays. Even for those small moments, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to become Nic Cage. I'm going to be eating pies and desserts and chocolate chip banana bread on Thanksgiving, being a pilgrim. And I'm going to be Italian Santa Claus crushing some panettone during Christmas time. And all is going to be right with the world for those moments. So take the time to enjoy these for what they are. Try to remove yourself from the idea that handcuffs us all, or has in the past, the idea that only kids can get this giddy and happy for holidays. Especially Halloween. We can do it too. You can do it too, and I encourage it. And that's all I got today, folks. Before we go, the big 3. The 3 pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being and spreading that goodness around the world. Number 1, exercise every day. Whether it's a physical exercise like jumping jacks or going for a workout or for a walk or a run, or it's a mental exercise like reading a book or doing a crossword or learning a new hobby, or it's an emotional exercise like meditating or praying or doing breath work. Do at least one thing every day to exercise and improve your health and wellness physically, mentally, emotionally. Number 2, don't be a shitty person. Be a kind person. When the opportunity arises for you to respond in a negative situation with more negativity and shit, realize you're in that situation detach from your negative emotions that you're feeling at that moment and omit yourself from that altogether. And by doing that, A, you're not adding any further negativity to the situation or to the ether, to the world in general. So you're minimizing the negativity. You're already taking out some of the shit that people have to deal with. B, you're not hurting somebody else. And that's something that, especially on the internet, social media, whatever, people don't think about. When you fire off a shit post, a serious shit post, not just like a good joke between friends or a little trolling with your friends or family members just as a joke and a little ribbing or a little light roasting, a serious shit talk or shit post or a negative comment on a profile or somebody else's story update or whatever it is, people just seem to think that it's just, you're just fire and forget and you're good to go and that's it. But in reality, there's another human being on the other side of there. And whether you think they deserve it or not, that human being has shit they got to go, that got going on in their lives. And you only know 0.00001% of what is actually going on in that person's life. And how you would feel when somebody shits on you is how they feel. And I know it's easy for people to say, well, I don't care. They're a bad person. They deserve it. Say that to their face with their family sitting there. And maybe they have kids or a husband or a wife, or they're taking care of their older parents. And you only know a fraction of their lives, but you're commenting on it in a negative way. Probably a little harder for you to do that if you're actually in that situation, right? So put yourself in that mental situation and then omit yourself from it. See them as people for what they are, human beings with feelings and lives and stressors and shit that they got to deal with, just like you and me, and omit yourself. The third thing it's going to do is going to allow you the freedom and the space physically and mentally out of the negative so that you can go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives. And the more time you spend out of the negative, the better off your life is going to be. The happier you'll end up being, the less depressed, the less anxiety filled, the less stress you'll be, because you're removing yourself from those situations that create anxiety and depression and stress. Third pillar, most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And that's a mindset shift. That's all it is. Think about the good things you have in your lives. Now think about what your lives would be like without those good things. And that will immediately put you in a state of gratitude. And you start off small with thinking about one thing each day, and then you think about 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. And then before you know it, the majority of your thought process, when you have the space to think about this stuff, you're going to be in a state of gratitude as opposed to a state of taking things for granted. And if you couple that with not being a shitty person and removing yourself from the negative situations and being a kind person, and you couple that with exercising every day, physically, mentally, or emotionally, I promise you all, you will be better, happier, healthier, kinder, more genuine human beings, and you'll be able to spread that goodness throughout the world. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies and comment and interact and hit the hotline 202-670-1114 so we can spread the goodness of the LPDS to the masses. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.